Hey, hi guys. Don't know how many of you are watching on a Saturday night. Who ever thought we'd be discussing politics on a Saturday night? But this just doesn't go away. I wasn't quite sure what to call this vlog because, it's Brexit again. I thought we would have a little assessment of where we are because in many ways, everything changes, but nothing changes. I thought I'd start by sharing a joke I saw on Facebook. It said this might be the very first time in history that the UK sees the end of May before we see the end of April. Well, one can always hope. So, on Friday, May brought back her deal. This time she brought it back as a bog-off. Basically, buy one, get one free. So you approve the withdrawal agreement and you get the legal declaration for free. Seemed kind of strange, but it went down, didn't go down well again. Then what did we have? I just think you should keep trying because, Theresa, Easter Sunday's coming, so maybe you'll be able to raise your deal from the dead. But it does seem she's going to keep on coming back with it. I thought I'd start this vlog by sharing something that Kate Hoey said on the radio. And Kate Hoey, she's known as Catherine at home. So she said on the night when we voted the next day, 24th of June, she was so excited. And she went home. Hi there. Hi, lovely Jossa. And she said to her mom, Mommy, isn't this wonderful? We voted for Brexit. We won the referendum. We're going to leave. And her mother said, Catherine, dear, you don't really think they're going to let you leave, do you? And I think there you go. There you have it, the wisdom of the older people. We have to see this. I was thinking, what can I do? And I think one of the main things I can do with my chats about Brexit is keep up the positivity, because this is a battle. I mean, it's a David and Goliath struggle. Look what we're struggling against. But as Nigel Farage said on the 24th, we kicked that first brick out the wall. Look what we set in motion. We have Donald Trump now. We have things changing in Europe. So it's all to play for. We just have to keep positive. So that's a lot of what I'm going to be saying. So there's a mix today. I want to recap exactly where we are. Talk about my predictions coming up, where we are with my predictions, what I still see, and then sum it up nicely. So what are we going to do? We had on Thursday the indicative votes. All of them failed. The one that came closest was Ken Clarke's, which is Theresa May's deal plus a customs union. It's not really that different from her deal, is it? Because with the backstop, we could be in this permanent customs union anyway. Now, if it's Ken Clarke, he's a massive big Remainer. So basically, if Ken Clarke's for it, I am against it. I did hear Jacob Rees-Mogg last night on LBC. A lot of people are really disappointed because he backed her deal. I can honestly see that him and Boris are in a very difficult position because it's all a gamble, isn't it? Do they keep holding out and saying no to her deal, hoping that we again edge ever closer to the cliff edge? We're going to basically get down to the wire again if she doesn't get anything passed, where she's going to have to beg for an extension. Could we possibly fall out with no deal if they don't give us the extension? That's kind of the gamble. On the other hand, Boris and Rees-Mogg can see that the options are narrowing. They really don't want a second ref or general election, so they feel maybe they should vote for it now. But we'll come on to all of those. Hi, CG Glowscat. Hi, Lisa. Any ideas about the new date, maybe another chart? Yes, I'm going to come on to that now. Tonight. Okay, so where we are now, all those indicative votes failed. Ken Clarke's came quite close. Apparently, Jeremy Corbyn whipped Labour to vote for the package with the second referendum. But he only did that because it was a second referendum contingent on May's deal passing, and he gambled that May's deal wouldn't pass, so that would come to nothing, that amendment, because Jeremy Corbyn really doesn't want a second referendum. So he's kind of playing things, gambling a little bit there. So he was able to give a bone to the party of his party that won't remain by saying, oh, yes, okay, I'll whip to vote for the second ref, but he was pretty sure that her deal wouldn't pass, so it would never come to it. So they all kind of playing a game. Labour jostling for position, maybe for a general election. The ERG are playing for a position to get rid of her. Now, she's promised she's going if her deal goes through. It's kind of ridiculous. Vote for my dreadful deal and I'll go, or I'm going to stay and keep on buggering things up. It's crazy, isn't it? She's really got to go, but we're going to get to that as well. So has anything really changed? No. Now, on Monday, they're going to eliminate some of the options, and we're going to have indicative votes again. A couple of things could happen. If Ken Clarke's option wins with the customs union, then May could go to the EU and say, okay, what we're going to have is my deal with a permanent customs union, and she'll take it forward on that basis. That will become the deal. There's, however, talk that because May's deal on Friday actually garnered more votes, 289, than any of the other options that were voted on Wednesday. There might be a runoff between May's deal and the next most popular. So I'm thinking, and from astrology, I'm thinking it might actually be possible that she is still going to push this deal through. However, the date now can't be the 22nd because they needed to have agreed her deal on the Friday, the 29th, to secure that date of the 22nd. So even if we do approve her deal or her deal with a customs union, do you note that we can't get rid of her deal? Even if we go for the customs union in the single market, we have to have her deal with it. So her deal is kind of like a special type of poison that we are tied into. It just shows, look, it's a bad deal. What did kind of give me a little bit of confidence was Jacob Rees-Mogg on Friday. He said, if May's deal is bad, and he says it's very difficult to get out of once you're in it, but not impossible. He said with the right kind of leadership, there would be maneuverability post her deal during the negotiation period that's going to take place. Because I know this is what we were all kind of worried about, if our hands are going to be totally tied in the next phase because of this deal. But he's kind of hinting there might be something positive. So what would be better, possibly, if they vote for her deal? Now, that is possible, her deal. I'm hoping that her deal do better than the Ken Clark motion of her deal and a customs union. But I see it strongly moving towards where we may actually get over the line with her deal. But then she has to go, which is absolutely fantastic. We get someone new in who hopefully can maneuver us into a better position going forward, which probably is better than a long delay, because a long delay adds a great deal of uncertainty for all us Brexiteers. However, listening to George Galloway and Nigel Farage, who both were speaking on Friday, Nigel at the Leave March and George on his show, they are now chomping at the bit to have these elections. They're really excited now because George is going to run in the Northwest on a Brexit platform for the European election. So they're kind of excited about that, and they're looking to push forward on that basis, which is quite good. Hi Marco. Hi Sanjit. Hello. Please talk about... I will talk about the European elections. I've also got a really interesting one coming up on Spain for the Spanish elections. Spain's chart has just proved incredibly interesting. So I hope I'm going to find a lot to talk about of interest in that. So next week, we've got two options. Either Ken Clark's going to win outright and May will now adopt her deal with the customs union. The problem with her going down that route is a risk of splitting the Tory party, because what she's really doing there is adopting Labour Party policy. That's really not good. May is working a very tight line here between getting something that she can get through the House of Commons and splitting the Tory party. So it's very, very difficult for her. We also might see, the so-called runoff between her deal and the next most preferable deal in terms of the House of Commons. I don't even know if that's legal. The guy in the Duran was saying, Alex Marcoussis was saying, everything is now up for grabs. Everything seems to be possible. Things that are unprecedented are taking place, whether it's what Burko's doing, everything else. I'd like to know why Oliver Letwin's getting a second bite at the cherry on Monday. I mean, he had his chance on Wednesday. They put all those motions forward. All of them failed. I really don't understand why he's getting a second chance. And for goodness sake, how many times must we vote on a second referendum? It's being rejected. They keep bringing that back. So, why not bring her deal back? It's kind of ridiculous, isn't it? Okay. So they might have this runoff, right? So we're either going to get Theresa May's deal or her deal with the permanent customs union. There might be another motion might go through to have it all ratified in a second referendum. That, I think, is a very, very bad idea, and I really hope it doesn't come to that. I prefer, in a way, that motion definitely not to pass. I don't think so, but I think they might be whipped, the Tories, against that one. Okay, so I spoke about how Jacob Rees-Mogg said even with her deal, as long as they get another lead in, which now definitely seems possible because she said she's going. Look, if everything fails, she's going to hang around a little bit more. Has she not come to the end of the road? I do think there'll be a massive amount of pressure on her to leave, and I'll tell you why coming up. So the next big question is, will there be a general election? Well, as we've said before, because of the fixed-term parliament, they've got to have a 2/3 majority in the House of Commons. I don't think many people will want a general election. Since November, the Tories have fallen off 7 points. Labour have also fallen off 7 points. Tories are now beginning to lose votes to both UKIP on the one side and to the New Independent group on the other side. There's no way May could lead us into a general election. She made a hash of the last one. She really can't do it. She's toxic. She would have to go. But unfortunately, if a general election does happen, we need time to get another Tory leader, before we can go into the general election. So why else don't I think there'll be a general election? I think Labour are very unsure. On the one hand, they'd like it just to see what happens, but they're also a little bit scared. Their ratings have also come down. Labour losing votes to both the Greens, the Lib Dems, also UKIP, and also some of them to the independent group. Plus, the big thing with Labour is Labour are really the face of Remain. I mean, look at all the people like Chuka Mamuna in the independent group. They're ex-Labour people. The big guns behind Remain, like the Tony Blairs, Alistair Campbells, it's all Labour people. So when people think about Remain, they think about Labour, which means a lot of the working class vote, especially in the northeast and northwest, who are really angry, might turn away from Labour. So it's really dicey for Labour to go with it for this general election. On balance, I don't think many of the Labour MPs would want it. The Lib Dems would probably welcome it. The SNP did really badly in the last election. I think they'd be rather nervous to see what would happen. The DUP definitely don't want another election because they're so powerful now with their 10 MPs. They're kind of controlling the whole process. On balance, I don't see MPs voting for another general election because there's just too much unpredictability, too much to lose, especially with the polling, looking at it as it is. However, if Theresa May won't go, and her deal keeps failing, and if Jeremy Corbyn wants to call a vote of no confidence, it's possible that to get rid of her, the ERG will vote with Jeremy Corbyn in a vote of no confidence, which means the government has got 2 weeks to form another government who can possibly win a vote of confidence. And the big problem for Theresa May is she's been going through ministers like orange juice. She's had so many resign. She's almost running out of ministers to choose. So she may literally not be able to form a government. And that's the power that I think the ERG have over her right now, is they can sort of threaten her with this, that they can bring the government down. They have the power to bring the government down. The Leavers probably do too, but they've both got the power to bring her down if she doesn't, agree to leave. So it's one way of shifting her out no matter what happens. She really has to go. We need a leadership contest, and we must get a leadership contest before any possibility of a general election. I've always said in my prediction that I think we won't have a general election. My political analysis is it doesn't really suit anyone, and it certainly doesn't solve anything. Okay, it would be good. Politically, I'd be quite happy if we do participate in the European elections, because, as you know, I think that could throw up some exciting things. Okay, so we talked about polling, talked about the general election. What I think it's rather interesting as Brexiteers is you have to use all sorts of methods. Now, George Galloway said he was really impressed with the turnout of the march. He thought it was rather good, more than he would have expected. Why I think that although we have much small numbers than their march, although their march is still about 600,000 less than they're saying, although our numbers are smaller, I think our numbers are more significant because those are going to be mainly Tory voters who can turn to UKIP, which when you look at the march of the Remainers, they are mainly the usual suspects, people from Momentum, people from the Lib Dems, people who are Labour, people who are not really going to be voting Tory. So Tories can look at that march. They don't really have to be concerned because they might think, well, those are mainly not our voters anyway. They're mainly the metropolitan people who vote Labour. Tories look at the smaller march of Leave yesterday and think, wait a minute, this is our core vote. We do have to worry about these people. They are beginning to turn out in numbers. And one Labour MP that stood up and did a speech at Leave Means Leave was even talking about civil disobedience. So they're kind of upping the ante. What Aaron Banks has been doing, as you might have seen in the news, is he's getting Brexiteers to infiltrate local Tory parties to sign up as Tory party members. So they get a say in deselecting Remainer candidates. And the first one that's been deselected is Dominic Grieve. So you see, we're not standing still. I strongly feel that because of this date of the March 29 past, our side has been reinvigorated. We're taking up the fight and fortunately being quite creative in terms of how we are fighting this, in terms of getting rid of some of these MPs. So there's a lot of pressure on, and all these Remain MPs have got to be feeling the heat. No deal still remains the default option. So we've still got that in our favour. Yes, Theresa May will be rushing their panic stations, organising extensions, but it's still a default option. So far, there's no majority for anything in Parliament, and that could continue. Even if her deal is the least gets more votes than the others. Does it have enough to get it over the line? We're still hanging in there with a chance. I'm still confident that it is going to happen, and we'll see some kind of result more in the near time in the distance. To be honest, I always thought March the 29th was a terrible date. In numerology, 29, you don't get worse than the number 29. It's a very unlucky number. It's a number of submission. It's a number of defeat. And that's basically sums up her entire negotiating style: submission, defeat, a defeatist attitude, going cap in hand, being apologetic. That's all the number 29. So I'm not so sorry we missed that date. I think it would have been an inauspicious time to leave anyway. Okay, hi Jonathan. Hi Lisa. You should become a political commentator and make thousands of. Yeah, but they wouldn't have me on, would they? They'd absolutely hate me. I'm too much. Yeah. I sometimes think on Sky Papers, it's a waste of time. Those people, they don't have anything to say. I'd love to argue with those people. I would. What's the latest on this new independent group? Well, they've now formed a party, which means they have to declare where their funding is coming from, because under the Electoral Commission, as soon as you donate more than £7,000, it has to be declared. It'll be very interesting to see where their funding is going to be coming from. Probably from the Blair, who's diverting money, Tony Blair, and we'll know where all their funding's been coming from. But at the same time, I do think our side is, we've got to remain positive. It's a fight. It's a continual fight. And, the big thing here is even after Brexit, there's still massive problems being caused by the globalists, by the cultural Marxists, by the leftists, by the communists. They're still causing us a lot of problems. We can't go to sleep on politics, probably for the rest of many of our lifetimes, because of the way the world has changed and how they got their claws into every institution. We've just got to slowly weed them out. Even when we have Brexit, we've got to keep our foot on the pedal, pressing for greater and greater separation. Ian Dale's kind of analogy was, he thinks that even if we go for her deal, while it's a crummy, rubbish, terrible deal, he says once we've got our foot a little bit out, chances are we'll be able to edge further and further out. Personally, I think we need to get something finished now. I mean, look at Donald Trump coming forward and saying, come on, hurry up, get out of there. We're ready to make a deal. You're not going to crash out. You're going to, reminds me of the Simply Red song, you're going to fall straight into my arms. We're going to fall straight into the arms of Donald Trump. So we're not afraid on this channel of crashing out, are we? So, astrologically, I did see this massive confusion, as I said, confusion continuing. But the way I see it panning out, it is possible that she is going to get something over the line this week, or maybe her deal will be the most preferred of all the other options. As I say, that King clock, I think there's hidden gremlins in that one if she's going to negotiate that. BBC are very biased. Absolutely, yes, they are. Off topic, please talk about Trudeau's ongoing troubles. Marquez, I did do a video on Canada. I saw a lot of positive things happening. So I saw Canada also moving in a kind of a pro-nationalist direction and turning their back on liberalism. I think Justin Trudeau was just a dose too far. He over-egged it on that whole liberalist stuff, and I think it's woken the Canadians up. Somehow, when you do get a person like him that absolutely lays it on thick, it is enough to wake people up, and they're realizing, well, hang on, we've got a lot to lose here, especially, with a smaller population. It doesn't take much to tip the balance, or with mass immigration. A lot of immigrants that are coming in are voting for Socialist Party. So I do think Canada's going to wake up, and I think Trudeau's had his chips, but I will look at his chart particularly just to see. Well, I do see the European elections, definitely the European with MEPs, that there's going to be a massive change. But the problem is it's a talking shop. It's not as easy for the MEPs to influence because all the laws are made in secret in the commission. Then they debated in secret, and then they all ratified in secret by what would you call them? Not the commissioners, the council. Yes, the laws are all made in secret by the council. They're debated in the council, and then they're passed by all the commissioners. The MEPs, it's just a debating shop. It's just to give the facade or the show of democracy. So it won't be as easy to weed out everyone in the upper echelons, because all the commissioners are appointed by the leaders of the different countries. So all the embedded globalists will keep supporting each other. But the first step towards freedom in Europe is going to be these elections and the sea change in parties. But as I've talked about as well, in Holland, in nearly every state in Europe now, you have grassroots parties who've just blossomed. They've come from nothing and suddenly they're storming into either the Senate or the whatever they have, or the houses. Also, it's happening a lot in Germany and Holland, even in Belgium. You see the yellow vest protests. People have woken up all over Europe. They're using their vote in their local elections. Italy's doing a lot to stir things up. So we do see cracks appearing. At the very top of the pyramid, it is still quite solid. So it'll take a while, but you know, the grassroots effort all around is definitely helping, and it'll help even more if we've got a whole lot of Eurosceptic MPs in that parliament. Okay, true. Hi guys. Hello, Angela. Hey. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so EU elections. So I see Tories are going to be hemorrhaging votes. That's got to worry them. Everyone get out and vote, you know, when you have a chance in your local elections, because you can vote for other parties or you can vote tactically to send them a really strong message. Watch the other vlog I did with the message for your MP. I think it's called Calling All Brexiteers or something. And I've got a template of a letter you can write to your MP to tell him that you're totally fine with a no deal, because that's really important. I do think with Neptune in Pisces, we've got to be more creative with the way we organize ourselves politically. We do know there's a lot of censorship going on Facebook, on Twitter and everything, of people that have you know, the views that are contra to the prevailing liberalist, leftist, whatever. So we have to be more creative. And I think what Aaron Banks is doing, infiltrating Tory party membership in order to get ministers deselected or MPs deselected, it's quite a good way of working. So we can't just go for the traditional things. It's not enough to vote. We've got to talk to people. I remember the guy on UK Column saying a while ago that they were in a taxi in Egypt, and the taxi driver said to them, there are loads of things you can do without using social media. And I think it's time we all start thinking about things like that. I know that recently Stefan Molyneux and Lawrence Southern were complaining a lot about censorship, but I feel that in a way they've brought it on themselves, because you can't put too fine a point on things when you're on platforms like this, and they should have started using other platforms. If we don't use these other platforms, and I'm also guilty too, because here I am talking to you on YouTube and not going to other places, but I do aim in the next few months to start using Gab and DTube and BitChute and all the others a lot more, because if we use those, we can address more people. One of my friends on Facebook said to me, the problem when you go off Facebook is you can't influence other people. You can only speak to people who are already kind of on the same page as you. But I think that we can't, there are lots of people, we've probably exhausted the amount of people we can convert, because a lot of people are, for example, I don't bother doing anything on Facebook. Everyone there has totally made up their mind. Most of them watch BBC and are totally brainwashed by them. I just can't reach them anymore. The other people who've already heard me talk know my views. I've reached the limit of who I can convince. I think we have to wait for people to be affected in their own lives and then to come looking for us, and I'm sure they will. But you don't need to convince everyone. All you need is a core of committed, dedicated people who have a very strong and passionate belief, and they can change things, because most people are basically sheeple. They're not highly engaged. They're not going to do anything. So we don't need to convince them. We don't even need to worry what their views are, because they're not really going to do anything. We need to just keep talking amongst ourselves and invigorating our core so that we don't give up and we keep voting. And I think the big undercalculation has been that people would get bored of Brexit. I think the elite thought that we all get absolutely sick about it. We couldn't wait to get back to our lives, to go, you know, like that song One Night in Bangkok, when it says, so you better go back to your bars, your massage parlors, da-da-da-da. Well, we haven't been going back to our bars and our massage parlors. We still major engage. We still want the political earthquake that we voted for. And it doesn't matter. They want to delay it for 2 years, and they think we won't be bored in 2 years either. We're still going to be here, and we're still going to be pushing. So, one full day of mass strike. Yes, mass strikes, mass boycotts. If someone could get behind it and start arranging that, I think it would be powerful. Imagine if we all just ate beans and toast for a week, didn't bother to shop for food, didn't go to restaurants. I mean, can you imagine what that would do to the economy? And that's one thing where they get upset, is when the economy is affected. Can you imagine over Christmas how all those yellow vest protests affected Christmas shopping and tourism in Paris? They must have had a major effect on the economy, you see. So it's big what they're doing. Okay, yes. Yeah, so I was going to say no deal is still on the table. I do think we are going to avoid a general election. I'd like to see one a little bit further down the line. I think it could be helpful. I think Theresa's basically finished. We'll be seeing her go very soon. I'm really looking forward to getting a new leader in, and hopefully it is going to be a Brexiteer. Like I say, I think Boris will be a strong runner. Even if he doesn't get it now, he will get it. Dominic Raab, I want to do his chart because he's putting his name in the ring as well. So once we've got another leader, I think that's going to make all the difference to our cause. Whether we have a deal this week, I think it's a strong, strong possibility that some deal is going to get over the line this week. Okay, so we'll watch out for that. If it doesn't, of course, she'll be negotiating a longer extension, whatnot. Either way, she's going to be gone. And I think as long as we get a new leader, we are still in the pound seats and rearing to go. Okay. Yes, I think another thing that they have to look out for is surveys show that where people used to feel strongly about either being Labour or being Conservative, now people don't identify strongly with their party. They identify most strongly. So they said that 80% of people, and it's kind of evenly split, identify extremely strongly as being a Brexiteer or extremely strongly as being a Remainer. And that's why I think the overall effect of Brexit, Pluto in the UK's 10th house, is going to be that, oh, so it's in the 4th house, isn't it? Pluto in our 4th house is going to be a total change of the political system. We now really have two parties within the Conservative Party. There's the ERG versus a lot of them that are really pro-Remain. And that could lead to a split. The same thing in the Labour Party. We have the Corbyn group who are also pro-Leave and very interested in Marxism in a more left-leaning way. And then we have the Blairites who are neoliberals, Remain as globalists. Those parties could separate out, break down. We could see a whole new political system. So once the Brexit dust has settled, we are going to see the emergence of a different political mix. Maybe not new parties, or maybe we just see a different Conservative Party with a whole lot of Conservatives splitting off to go to Labour, to join the Blairites to make a party, and then, you know, a whole lot of Labour with Corbyn supporters splitting off the other way. So I think it's going to change the whole political makeup, and I see that happening in Australia as well. So that's kind of exciting. So we'll be voting in future, maybe pro-nationalists versus pro-globalists. Conservatism, I think, will take on a new meaning, and it will draw in a lot of people who are Labour as well, because, you know, it won't necessarily be the elites versus the working class. It'll be all classes who are interested in conservatism, nationalism, blah, blah, blah. Okay, right. So yeah, so I think I've covered everything that I wanted to cover in terms of Brexit, where we are. So we're going to see with the indicative votes, it's highly likely that some form of her deal will get through this week. And we will see Brexit actually happening. It won't, I don't know, it won't really be on the 12th now, will it? Unless we crash out, because that is still a possibility. You never know. I think a lot of people have gambled on that the whole way through, and they might just come up trumps. It's all been a gamble. You know, everyone's just been playing a political game with the way they've been voting. It hasn't all been about stopping Brexit. It's also been engineering the kind of Brexit we want. And if they'd voted long ago for a deal, she would have never gone. She would have stayed on. I think what the ERG have done in not voting your deal, has put pressure on her now to say, okay, vote for my deal, please, and I'll go, yes, that's what we want. As long as we can get rid of you, Theresa, we can move forward. Not with David Lidington, though. Thank you. Not with a Remainer. That would be terrible. By the way, it's fantastic this week that the Muller inquiry, that, well, all of us on this channel knew that was a biggest lot of nonsense. I mean, after Donald Trump got elected, remember the first thing was Jill Stein was having recounts. Everywhere they had to have a recount because they thought the counting was wrong. Then the next thing, they were going to try and get the Electoral College people to switch their vote to Democrat because of the popular vote nonsense. Then it was, oh, they were going to say that Donald Trump was mentally unstable. Then it was the Russiagate. I mean, can't people see? It's one thing after another. I would caution, though, everyone, we're not out of the woods yet for Donald Trump, because they've now got prosecutors in New York looking into things like fraud. They've got some real, what would you call them, tigers, crocodiles in New York, real attack dog lawyers going through absolutely everything in this witch hunt. So we could see more down the line. Maybe the Russia inquiry's gone, but there'll probably be something else, some other hurdle for him to get over. This just goes on and on and on. But at least for the moment, we've quashed that. Just shows everybody the lying media, hey? They had us all, well, they didn't have me. Every time it came on, I was like, oh, not going to anyone believe this. But they certainly were able to bang on about it. It just reminds you, you just don't pay attention to them. And whatever they tell you about Brexit, if they tell you, well, no deal's totally off the table, it can't happen, don't believe them. Don't believe anything they say. Just remember always and keep in your mind, they told you that Russia influenced the American election. That was the only reason Donald Trump got in. And you can remember what nonsense that was. So apply that logic to everything. Just to add one thing about Donald Trump, someone was saying to me the other day, oh, yes, but, you know, Hillary was such a bad candidate. Mickey Mouse could have got in. Oh, really? Then why was I seeing all these memes prior to the election saying Hillary is the most qualified person ever to run for president? Why was she ranking at 98% possibility of winning? Why was everyone behind her if she was such a bad candidate? The fact is, no one thought she was a bad candidate until she lost, and then they had to back away and say, oh, but, you know, anyone could have won. No, actually, I think she was quite a good candidate. I didn't like her at all, but I think she was a good candidate. She was certainly a better candidate than Biden and all these deadbeats they've got at the moment. And you must remember that Donald Trump didn't just beat her. He beat off a very strong contingent of Republicans, from Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz. He beat them, saw them all off very effectively. He didn't just beat her. He beat all of them. And he did it for a reason. He has a strong message that everyone on this channel understands. And that is, you know, we want to make our country great again. Yes, our country, not just a blob of land that doesn't respect itself, that has no meaning, people that have no foundation. Hi, Graham. Hi, Matt. Hi, guys. The future of Commonwealth due to the Brexit, especially Nigeria. Yes, I have been looking at the chart of Nigeria because obviously, Nigeria is a very, very important country to look at, because the template that's happening there could be happening in a lot of other countries very soon, because the power struggle that's going in, the possible split. So yes, I want to pay a lot more attention to Nigeria, Nigeria is another cardinal country. So it's on the very similar trajectory to what the UK and Australia, America, Canada, all cardinal countries have been on. Trump also beat millions of votes by illegals. Yes, absolutely. All the illegals were voting. So one of my, well, not really a friend, rather a pesky person I know on Facebook, had a picture up, and he's prior to the election, and he said all the states that the Democrats are going to win if, I think he said all the educated people voting, and he had all the states that were going to win because all the educated people. I said, oh, pretty you don't have a map, because, you know, if the dead people were voting, it would be totally blue. Because, you know, that's how Kennedy got in. That's why he had a thing going with the mafia. The mafia were very involved all over New York of collecting names from gravestones and compiling lists to create fake voters' names on the roll to help Kennedy get in. That's why he owed the mafia something, and they were rather upset with Kennedy when he didn't pay them back, because they helped him get in. So, I mean, that's been going on for ages. Hi, Anise. Hello, Julia. Correct. Yes. I hope you've been enjoying everything. Listen, I might have rambled there. I hope I got everything straight of where I think we are. I've taken the best summaries that I've heard everywhere to lay it out to you. But because this process is basically unprecedented, things can happen that no one expects, because laws are being broken. We've got Burko just ruling the roost and doing whatever he wants. So you never know. That's why I say I still wouldn't be surprised if we saw no deal. I really wouldn't, because anything can happen. Hi, thanks, Julia. Thanks, Graham. Yes, Kennedy. Yeah, I heard that quite recently. I want to know if Macron will get ousted by the people. Chris, I did a vlog on France, and unfortunately my analysis of whether Macron will get ousted, I said no. I mean, some other people were saying a while ago, some other astrologers that I saw on Facebook said that they thought he could be gone any day. And I thought, well, I don't really agree with that. I'm wondering if they'll be right, but it hasn't happened. I do feel what the Yellow Vests are doing is significant. I do think they're doing a lot of damage. I do think they're gaining in support, but I don't think enough has happened to dislodge him. In fact, Germany and France were recently coming up with new treaties that are going to make them the core of Europe. They've always been the two controlling forces of Europe, and they are kind of consolidating and centralizing power, the two of them, to almost hold this thing together. In France's chart, it's so strong that they want to be part of this EU project, and Macron is their anointed one. I don't think we'll get rid of him until the next elections, when we will, but I don't think we'll get rid of him before those elections. And I do think France and Germany are determined to make this thing work. As a whole, though, around the edges, it's all beginning to crumble. Okay, the Dems cheated him into office. That was a blessing in disguise. Not that I ever support cheating. But we know it happens. I bet it's happening in ours too. That's why I really worry about a second referendum. They won't make the same mistake twice. They'll analyze everything that went wrong, and they'll do absolutely anything with the propaganda, the fear. It's really dicey. I think we could easily win it if it's a genuine vote. But will it be a genuine vote? What can they do to doctor it? I really don't feel that it's a totally safe, secure system. It can never be in any country. Yeah. That's why I'm really eager to avoid that second referendum. I would be very, very nervous about it. I always said it wouldn't happen because I said the sea has changed, the tide has turned. We can't, it's a can of worms that's been opened with Brexit. It's woken us up all to a lot of things, even those who weren't very passionate about the EU have seen how they've behaved. It's become a thing that people identify strongly with rather than Tory and Labour. That's not going to go away. It's been the defining event for the UK for many decades to come. You can't bury it. You won't stop it. I know they'll try, but they're not going to stop it. We are going to get there. I promise you we'll get there. 39 billion reasons the EU will grow. Yeah, Matt, yes, that's right. But you know, they're so belligerent. They're so arrogant that I think there's an outside possibility that they might shoot themselves in their $39 billion foot. You know, you never know, because they might just, it's the toss-up of, do they want us in those EU elections? And that money, well, you know, they'll just take that money or more away from Greece, won't they? Or somewhere like that. Okay, guys, have a brilliant rest of your Saturday. And happy Mother's Day to all of you celebrating in the UK tomorrow. I hope you have a nice time and something nice to eat. I'm off to make some dinner now. God, let's hope. Yes, Nigel has started a new party, but him and the Independent haven't really got their machinery ready for a general election. So I don't think they could be effective in a general election because they don't have all the parliamentary machinery there. That's why I think it's better when people have to keep supporting UKIP in the short run before these other parties take off. Take care, Garen. Thanks, Julia, Angela, Matt, everyone who commented today. Yeah. Lots coming, but I still have to keep blogging on Brexit because things keep happening for Brexit, so I keep coming back to it. Thank you, all of you. Yes, as I say, definitely want to be speaking about Spain. I've got 4 vlogs coming on Uranus in Taurus because I have found amazing things that are going on that I can say about that. I'm going to talk about this whole universal income thing. Definitely want to look at Nigeria. As I say, Spain turned out to be really interesting. Still Germany, the EU, a whole lot, but I'm freeing up some time for myself so I can devote more to looking at those charts because lots of interesting stuff. CG Glow, thanks guys. Hi Silka as well. Thank you all for your interaction. Have an enjoyable rest of your evening and take care and keep hoping for the 12th, eh? Just keep positive. Don't get defeatist. Don't let the globalists and the mainstream media get you down. We are going to win. Maybe not in the way we thought it would work out, but we just got to keep going on and keep being creative with the way that we tackle these globalists, eh?